Hello and welcome to BrookesTV. I'm Maggie Waldron.
And I'm Talia All-Ewing. We have a jam-packed episode for you this week.
So let's dive right in. Coming up this week,
we look at how the Botley roadworks and lack of traffic filters are impacting residents.
how does this exhibition make you understand what it's like to be an immigrant?
And how are Oxford residents being impacted by environmental changes? But first, with over 89 knife crimes from 2023 to 2024, a new measure is being implemented to save lives.
And I spoke to Claire Nelson, who personally helped to fund this new project and went into the centre of Oxford to see what these life-saving kits contain. A bleed kit can save your life, giving you vital seconds before the paramedics can get to you. A bleed kit typically contains sterile dressing, compressing bandages, trauma shears, gloves and a tourniquet. These items are essential for managing severe bleeding until help arrives. This kit has just been donated to Plush Nightclub. This was thanks to Claire Nelson. Claire was personally affected by knife crime and made her play motherhood to raise awareness within the community. While conducting her research, she came across the bleed kits and started her campaign to bring them to Oxford.
So we got in touch with the Oxford City Council and they told us what the price would be to have 2 lockable bleed kits. So that's why we set that particular target. And we just put it all over social media, kind of hassled people we knew, because we felt passionate about the cause, and we thought 2 lockable kits would be so useful because it's 24-hour access. You get a code from emergency services, anybody can get hold of one.
But what does the community think about these kits? We took to the streets of Oxford to find out how much they know and how best to educate the public on how to use them.
I've not heard much about it before, but it seemed like a really good thing, just having that as a kind of, maybe not as a reassurance, but it's an option available.
We definitely need to be more educated on what it is, because I had no idea what it was before you explained it to me.
The people around our students, so that's like a lot of people in the city centre who will basically be trained on how to use it, so that could probably be a pretty effective way to push it out.
Claire's journey has only just begun making our community safer. This is Aggie Waldron, BrookesTV. The Botley Road construction works are set to cost £160 million and they're going to continue longer than expected.
It's all having a serious impact on people and traffic. Rory Wildman reports.
For nearly a year, the residents of Oxford have been divided, as work at the rail station has been repeatedly delayed. The Network Rail-led project aims to replace the bridge over Botley Road. However, the construction has left it impossible for buses and cars to pass through. This has resulted in people needing to take a timely detour around or travel by foot through a narrow tunnel beside the rail station. It has had a detrimental impact on people commuting for both work and school as traffic has increased. I spoke with residents of Oxford who were upset about the handling of this project.
Well, I've stopped using my bike completely, and obviously I can't drive my car to my college.
I mean, luckily we live in Botley, so we just don't get a bus into Oxford anymore. We literally walk from our house.
It's been affecting the local people here. It's not good enough, like for especially people travelling and commuting.
Get on with it and finish it as quickly as you possibly can.
The council proposed a series of 6 filters located on high traffic roads around Oxford in order to ease congestion, but that has been delayed. The plan aimed to reduce traffic by limiting the number of times a vehicle can pass through these locations using a permit system that is defined by where you live and its proximity to Oxford. I went to speak to Councillor Andrew Gant to talk about the implementation of this measure.
The purpose of them is to manage traffic. It's not to stop traffic, and that's a really clear point that I need to get across. There is nowhere in Oxford that you can currently drive to in a private car that you will not be able to drive to in a private car whenever you want when the traffic filters are in. But what it does is manage the flow of traffic on certain key routes in order to reduce congestion.
So, will the residents of Oxford finally be treated to a traffic-free city, or will they be forced to park their ideas due to the delays? Rory Wildman, BrookesTV.
I wouldn't want to be stuck in one of these traffic queues.
No, me neither. Now, recent storms have caused dramatic rise in water levels across the country.
It's had huge repercussions for Oxford University Rowing Club, who have been unable to train due to high water levels.
Joe Wilson has more.
Oxford has been hit with heavy flooding, with Storm Hank causing major disruption early this year. Footpaths and public spaces, such as the Oatlands Road Recreation Ground, are still underwater. Flooding has continued to this day, with over 100 millimetres of rainfall in the final weekend in September. This has caused major issues for the rowing societies of Oxford.
High river levels have continued, meaning that rowers at Oxford's Brasenose College have struggled to get out on the open water.
So for the last year we've been on a stage called Red Flag. It's where the difference between the river levels up and downstream are too high, which means that the river is going too fast, which means it's unsafe for us to row. We've had lots of rain coming over the UK, and it's basically meant that we've had no river time for about a year. In the first 2 terms of last year, we were supposed to have about 16 weeks of water rowing. We had 5. So yeah, it's been quite devastating for the rowing community.
Well, we basically haven't been able to get out and row at all this term, and for much of last term we got out maybe just a few times a term, and we can do sort of land training circuits and go to the gym and stuff. But we're here to row on the water, so it's a bit depressing having to row inside the machines.
However, there is hope on the horizon. In the last 48 hours, the Met Office removed 2 of the 6 weather warnings currently active in Oxford.
Brasenose College is hoping river levels should reduce soon. This is Joseph Wilson reporting for BrookesTV News.
After hearing that news, if you're concerned about flooding in your area, please go to the Oxford City Council website, where you can report a flood and find out lots of other information.
Now moving on, a British Indian artist has opened an exhibition where she is using her artwork to take visitors from a small town in India to a new life in the UK. Bridget Thenkalada has been to find out more.
Swatches of colour, light and sound consume the 2 gallery spaces in Oxford's old fire station. This exhibition presents brand new installations and sculptures inspired by the artist's mixed cultural heritage.
The exhibition's about looking at kind of like my family's history of migration when they came in like the 50s, 60s and 70s, and the experiences they first had when they were here. And then it's like contrasting it to the 2nd and 3rd generation and their experiences of living in the UK.
The artist of Journey of the Blue Sun is a 2nd-generation immigrant. She expresses that this has positively impacted her life and given her far more choices and opportunities.
So I think when people first enter the spaces, depending on which door you're entering from and which room you're going into, I want them to kind of feel energetic or lifted or kind of the textures and stuff. I just want them to experience joy, within the work. And then I think in the blue room, because of the colour and I feel like it encapsulates you with the sounds of the bells or, as you're wandering around. It's a moment to reflect, to really think about what journeys people could have taken, maybe think about yourself, what kind of journey you've taken or your family's taken or somebody you know. But it's really about kind of being aware of immigrants that have moved here and kind of thinking about some of the experience that they would have had.
The exhibition invites audiences to get immersed into a sensory experience where immigration, belonging and community tells a story.
It's also nice to have something that feels engaged with something important, like it's got a message behind it. It's not just pretty to look at.
It's good to have those exhibits that are more struggle oriented, and then also exhibits that are more to kind of show who people are beyond the struggle.
It's another way for people to connect, and if some people connect really well through art, and that's beneficial for them.
Generally at all, I think any art exhibition is sort of judged on its own merits.
It's interesting to see different cultures through different works because not everyone actually has the cultural experiences of going abroad.
I think it's a really good thing to highlight, especially nowadays, the struggle with immigrants.
This exhibition is open for the public from 28th of September to the 16th of November in 2024. This is Bridget Thenkalada reporting for BrookesTV News.
Oxford is embracing sustainable transport and eco-friendly policies. But as the city works towards zero emissions, some are concerned about the impact on the residents.
Jake Gutteridge speaks to members of the public to find out more.
The latest ENDS Green Cities Index has listed Oxford as the most eco-friendly city in England for the second year. The city has put in place various measures over the past few years to reduce pollutants and improve overall air quality for residents, with a goal of zero carbon emissions by 2040. These measures include new traffic filters and zero emission zones. A key contributor to Oxford's Green City status is the Low Traffic Neighbourhood Scheme. These traffic filters were installed in 2022 and are designed to limit car traffic to encourage residents to walk or cycle instead of driving. Policies like this clearly aim to make the city more eco-friendly, but is it too much too fast? Residents are divided on whether the title of Greenest City is worth the impact it has had on drivers.
It seems like they're being quite heavy-handed in the way they are shutting down traffic use. Like, it seems like it's really rubbish to be a driver in Oxford, and that happened quite suddenly.
It would be much more cost-effective to use the same money to create carbon offsetting elsewhere.
Some people view the schemes more positively.
Because I come from a city that's in India, Delhi, where the traffic, is so noisy, so bad. And here, I'm so happy, and I wish we could have something like this in India.
The LTN traffic filters in Oxford have been labelled autocratic and pointless by campaigners, who feel that the city has become much more congested without any clear benefit to residents. The CEO of Oxford City Council affirms that Oxford has a strong history of taking innovative action to address climate change, making an impact not only locally, but also at the national and international levels. The council continues to lead the way in addressing the climate emergency. Despite the controversy, it's clear to see why Oxford has achieved its Green City status. More residents and commuters are adopting more sustainable modes of transport. According to Voy, their electric scooters and bikes have been used 2.3 million times by almost 120,000 people since they were introduced to Oxford in 2021. The question remains about whether Oxford's green policies will inspire residents to adopt a more eco-friendly lifestyle, or whether the long-term impact on their daily lives will be too much to swallow. But it's looking very positive that the city will achieve its zero carbon goals. Jake Gutteridge, BrookesTV News.
That's it for this segment of the show, but still to come in this week's episode.
Student living conditions. How bad could it possibly be?
Crocodiles of the world need more space for the deadly Nile crocodile. In a while, crocodile. Welcome back. I'm now joined by Mr. Brian Durham, who is a retired Oxford City archaeologist. Brian has now turned his attention to protecting the Oxford floodplains, working with multiple environmental groups to appeal for legal representation. Hi Brian, thank you so much for joining us today on the sofa.
Okay.
So I would just like to start, if you could just tell us a bit about the Hinksney and Osney environmental group, your group, and how your appeal is better than the environmental agency.
How we are improving the Environment Agency scheme. Yes, well, there's a group of people who got together in about 5 years ago, thinking that their landscape was going to be changed by the scheme, and they wanted to know why. And I had been involved with the Oxford flood scheme for probably more than 10 years. In fact, I did the first sketches that the Environment Agency used back in 2012. And they weren't proposing a flood scheme at that time, but within 6 months they had set up a unit to do it. So I feel a little bit responsible for some of this. And of course things developed, and my scheme was silly, was juvenile, wouldn't have worked. But as it came through, we saw a professional flood scheme, but there were a couple of odd things about it, and so we started to ask questions.
So you were asking questions, was this for the benefit, obviously, as a local community and the environmental benefit? Was that the main aim?
Not entirely, no. Trying to understand the engineering design, why it was being done that way, because it was quite clearly very different from some flood schemes, and from the way that the valley the floodplain has worked for 10,000 years. So we wanted to find out why.
So has the floodplain they've chosen to do, has it been proven in other places, or is it just, have they made it new, is what you're saying?
They've done a small example of that somewhere in an urban location in London, but they haven't. If they say they have, I'm prepared to believe it. They haven't told us where it is, so I can't actually verify it.
So they haven't actually given you the proof, they've just told you that they've given a bit of proof.
Yes. That's the way things.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, we're dealing with the government department. That's the way you'd expect it to happen. Yeah.
Had you find you've been supported on the topic of government? Do you think you've been supported by your local MP or not really?
The local political and administrative structure, like it's simple. They will go with whatever the Environment Agency or the National Flood Authority. That's the way it would be. And improving the flood scheme. Yes, I have walked around this area with my councillor, who was very helpful at the time, but party line, you know? I mean, yes, a 3-line whip. And it's quite hard for me as an archaeologist, not as a trained flood engineer. I mean, I am also an atmospheric scientist, so I know where the water comes from.
Yeah, so you have a very big understanding, would you say?
I do, and as city archaeologist, of course, I knew about all the obstructions that mankind had been putting on the floodplain over the last 1,000 years or more. So I could see what was stopping the water going through. And it's a different approach.
Definitely. How do you feel the support from your local community has been with what changes that you want to make?
From the floodplain, the people in Otany and North Hinksey, amazing, yes. I mean, terrific support. I was hearing today that the HOEG website has 150 people I can't remember
a day visiting?
200 people a day visiting, and they have a postal circulation, an email circulation of 150 people continuously. They are very well supported.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for giving me all this information. Thank you for joining us on the sofa today.
You are so welcome.
Perfect,
I'm free to go.
Next, the crocodiles of the world houses some of the deadliest reptiles from around the globe. They are looking to expand the facilities to accommodate their growing crocodiles. In the first 2 reports of her today, Annabelle Bastide went to investigate further.
With the UK's only crocodile zoo looking for expansion, Crocodiles of the World, based here in Oxfordshire, are just waiting for permission from the council to expand the Nile crocodile enclosure.
The plans to expand are based on the growing crocodiles that we have. So the main feeding presentation that we do every day is the Nile crocodile enclosure, and those crocodiles are getting big, so we really do need to give them a way bigger habitat. There are zoo standards that we need to adhere to when we're either maintaining, planning new enclosures, and just the general maintenance and routine care of the animals. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of standards that we need to adhere to.
With increasing visitor numbers and a growing population of crocodiles, the zoo needs to move to a much larger enclosure.
We wanted to get a bigger enclosure for these guys for a fair while. I think COVID had a bit of an issue, caused quite a bit of an issue for zoos around the country, and it set us back quite a bit.
It will additionally improve the overall customer experience by increasing the number of interacting feeding sessions and breeds of crocodiles.
The Nile crocodiles are getting a lot bigger. They'll average out at about 3 metres in length, and we definitely need more space for them, and also an enclosure that we can really design to their needs. Everybody likes to see something new, so hopefully it'll bring people in to see the crocs. Obviously, as they're getting bigger, they get people who want to see bigger animals.
Crocodiles of the World look forward to this expansion and the benefits that it will bring to the charity. Annabelle Bastide reporting for BrookesTV News.
With the number of potholes in Oxfordshire doubling in the past year, it's causing concerns amongst road users in the area.
Due to the lack of finances, the council are struggling to stay on top of the issue. Ella Holsworth-Hunt reports.
Potholes are a significant issue in Oxford, causing vehicle damage and posing safety risks on the road. Residents express frustration over the situation, claiming it is out of control, especially as many residential roads remain unfunded due to the substantial costs. The number of potholes has doubled in Oxfordshire in the past year, with 21,598 reported in 2022. Across the following year, the number of reported potholes increased to 36,900.
I'm here in the streets of Oxford to see what the residents think about the conditions of the potholes.
So I think the roads can be quite bumpy sometimes, I feel like, particularly around the Jericho area, sometimes the roads are a bit bumpy, but I feel like there aren't too many potholes around, so I'm pretty happy.
Well, I drive a firm's vehicle, and it's an old vehicle, and it affects the lights, pops the lights a lot. Cady Road, St Clements, Iffley Road, everything's pretty poor.
In May 2024, Oxfordshire County Council launched a £7 million pothole prevention programme. Milestone Infrastructure treated 300 kilometres of roads through surface dressing over 42 working days. The project covered over 50 towns and villages, making it the largest of its kind in Oxfordshire in over 20 years. I spoke to Councillor Andrew Gant to find out what the County Council have put in place for residents regarding their concerns and what they are doing to further maintain road quality in Oxford.
So maintaining our roads is one of the biggest challenges facing us as the Highways Authority. We have a statutory duty by law to maintain our road network, and it is huge. To give you some idea of the challenge, the scale of the challenge, it would cost about £45 million a year to keep our road network in a steady state, to stop it getting any worse. We are given about half of that sum from central government to maintain it. That's the kind of challenge we have. Yes, it was very successful for sure. It enabled us in a space of just 42 days to treat nearly 100 roads between April and July, and part of that was affected by weather. So yeah, it was a really significant addition to what we would be doing anyway. Well, I wish I could say that there was a magic wand that I could wave to fix every pothole, but it just isn't possible. The sheer physical scale of maintaining our road network is so huge that 7 million sounds like a lot of money, but it just doesn't touch the sides.
After speaking to Councillor Andrew Gant, I wanted to report a pothole. I went onto the website Oxfordshire County Council Fix My Street. The process was quick and it only took a few minutes.
Ella Holsworth-Hunt reporting for BrookesTV News.
Now, on to student accommodation, which is one of the main concerns around students.
I headed into Oxford Brookes housing area to check out what other students are living with. University life is becoming more challenging than ever for students. With housing prices soaring, students are struggling to find affordable accommodation. This is forcing them to make tough decisions about their living conditions. I spoke to multiple local students about the condition of their house and what issues they have had to deal with.
Back door doesn't open, all the doors off the hinges, we've got mould scattered through the rooms, drains are clogged. Oh yeah, washing machine's broken as well. It's been broken for 2.5 weeks. It's been an absolute nightmare, having to go to laundrettes. I've been trying to contact the lettings agents, trying to get the washing machine sorted. They've had a guy come out and look at it, but it's been 2.5 weeks and we've still not had any update on it.
We had a major leak in the upstairs shower and we contacted them numerous times, and eventually they got round to bringing someone, and this person left a huge hole in our bathroom ceiling. To this day, we still have a major hole.
Lots of damp walls, and when we first moved in and we got our keys, we couldn't actually move in for 2 weeks because basically every room in the house was mouldy.
The problem facing students today is the increasing cost of living. A big part of that is bills. A survey carried out last year showed that nearly 65% of students cut back on buying essentials due to the cost of living. In 2023, more than a third of students have had issues with damp and mould in their student housing. The landlord's solution to this is asking their tenants to increase their heating, adding even more to the students' bills that they already can't afford. I spoke to the Brookes lettings manager, Mike Moulton, to hear more from an agency's point of view.
A lot of students that aren't using the heating, which has knock-on effects
in the house, so it means they're getting condensation damp. Living conditions are worsening because they're saving money in other ways. Difficult position for us because we're telling them that they need to keep their house heated all the time, but they don't want to spend the money on it. You can put vents on windows, you can provide dehumidifiers and things like that. And we work with our landlords to encourage changes in houses that are particularly susceptible. But what we do see is a house that we'll have rented for 10 years, suddenly 1 year it will have condensation, and then the next year it won't. And the only thing that's changed is the tenants that have been living there.
Much like the mould in student houses, this issue isn't going away anytime soon. I'm Talia All-Ewing from BrookesTV News. That's it for now, but stick around as I will be joined by another guest live in the studio. But still to come on this episode, we get up close and personal with the new arrival at Cotswold Wildlife Park. And we hear from the Marlow Hockey Club coach before an intense game. See you after the break. Welcome back to BrookesTV News. I'm now joined live in the studio with Adam Jovich, who recently ran the length of Britain raising money for 2 different cancer charities. He ran over a marathon a day for 33 days. Hi Adam, how are you? Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me in.
So obviously this is an amazing challenge you completed. Running the length of the UK is very impressive. Can you tell us a bit about what inspired you to take on this huge challenge?
Yeah. So I've always been a long distance runner. My first big run that I did was a marathon, and that was the year that I graduated, about 5 years ago from here. A couple of years after that, I did a 100k ultra marathon, which is like my first I need to properly train for this kind of run. And then I went to Tunisia in April. I joined the guy who ran the entire length of Africa, Russ Cook. And after that, I was like, I need to do my own big one now, countrywide one. And I wanted to do the UK for a while. It's always been an idea of mine. So I was like, let's do it this year. Don't want to delay it anymore. And literally gave myself 4 or 5 months to train and got straight on it.
Wow, very impressive. So you also raised money for 2 different cancer charities. Could you tell us a bit about what the charities mean to you and why you chose them specifically?
Yeah, they were both cancer charities. So both my dad and my aunt have cancer. So it was quite close to home for us, and I wanted to do anything I could to support. Obviously, I can't change their situation, but I figured I could support it with backing the charities. So one was for Prostate Cancer UK, which was for my dad having prostate cancer, and then we just had Macmillan Cancer Support just to cover everyone, But hit close to home. My dad and my aunt were actually with me during the run. They were following through with the camper van, which is our support vehicle. So we had them on with it. And luckily they were enjoying it just as much as I was. I was worried it would be I'm loving it and everyone else is just stressing out over trying to keep me fed and keeping up with me and doing logistics, but they loved it too. So
great.
Yeah.
So you aimed to raise £3,000, but you actually ended up raising almost £8,000, which is a lot higher than what you aimed. So how does it feel to have surpassed your aim by so much?
Oh, it's great. And people have been so kind. I couldn't believe the level of support just from everyone in my life, my friends, my family, my colleagues from where I work, but also just complete strangers. People we were meeting en route that we were telling them about because they'd catch notice of what we were doing and they'd just give us money there on the spot. Didn't know us, they just, loved what we were doing and wanted to get involved in it. So yeah, the 3K was just an arbitrary number. I just wanted to set some goal, but I didn't think it would be almost double. So yeah, incredible.
Amazing. So what was the toughest moment for you during the run, and how did you keep the motivation to carry on going?
Oh, it was probably entering Bristol, coming out of Wales, going through Monmouth. My Achilles were just cooked. It was the part of my body which took the biggest beating, definitely. And I didn't know if one point they were going to make it, if they'd tear or rupture. So I was just trying to weigh up, still going with managing my body. But yeah, that was the toughest part, and easy to get through it.
Yeah, so undertaking a challenge like this, obviously you need a lot of support. You said that your auntie and your dad were with you in the camper van. Who else were the key people with you to help make this journey possible?
To be fair, it was just them 3, my parents and my aunt. And in terms of support crew, they were just there to help ferry me around between different campsites after my runs, keep me fed, fill up my water, stuff like this. But other than that, it was just me, Strava on my phone, Google Maps, and just figuring it out as we were going, really. And then obviously our family back at home every day, messaging through, calling me, looking for updates and that. So everyone was in the background supporting as well, which was cool.
So 886 miles in 33 days is a lot, and it would have taken a lot of preparation. Can you tell us a bit about how you trained beforehand and what your routine was all before?
I ran about 150k a week on average, depended on how busy I was working, what my shifts were like. And I just mixed in strength and conditioning, just, doing some sled pulls, squats, deadlifts, stuff to keep my legs strong and robust. But yeah, about 150k a week, and yeah, just constant running.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Just like Adam here, a record-breaking number of people have started running recently, and a parkrun just celebrated their 20th anniversary. In her second report for us today, Annabelle Bastide joined the runners at University Parks.
Parkrun is a charity event which happens every Saturday morning all across the country at 9 a.m, where people gather to run a 5-kilometre route together.
I started running in the pandemic. So when we were told that we were only allowed to go out for an hour a day, and I was living with my parents, I decided to go an hour away as far as I possibly could and then come back. And then I just found out I loved it, signed up for some races, and then just got semi-addicted.
Parkrun started in 2004 in Teddington with just 13 runners, and it took around 2 years before it spread further. Fast forward 20 years, and they have more than 2,000 locations over 23 countries. Running has become increasingly popular, and it peaked in 2020 due to lockdown and it being the only way that people could exercise. Social media has played a significant role in this running boom, contributing to record-breaking entries for events like the London Marathon in 2025. I asked the director of University Parks Parkrun, Matthew, how this has impacted Parkrun.
We do see that numbers do increase as the time develops, and they have improved over the last year. So the legacy that I hope that Parkrun will leave the community is kind of the embracement of physical activity for everyone. So while speed and time is not necessarily the goal, participation and turning up regularly is, which is good for health and well-being.
Reflecting on the 20 years that Parkrun has been running, there have been many benefits of running that have been discovered, such as building muscle, looking after your heart, and it can also improve the sharpness of your mind. I spoke to some of the runners and volunteers about their own running experiences at Parkrun and any advice they may pass on to new runners.
The most significant memory is the community and going for coffee afterwards and sorting out the results or the finish tokens, and that's just really nice afterwards to have a chat with the volunteers.
Don't give up and don't focus on other people, focus on yourself and take small steps. It will be tough some weeks. Keep trying and you'll get there.
Take it at your own pace. Just doing one run a week, even one little jog a week is enough. And then take it from there and sign up to fun things that you can do. Make it fun and interesting as well.
From just 13 runners to begin with in Teddington to now over 2,000 parkruns across the country and a staggering 700 people at this University Parks event, Parkrun won't be slowing down anytime soon. Annabelle Bastide reporting for BrookesTV News.
Marlowe's ladies hockey first team have become league champions after an impressive 6-2 victory over Maidenhead. They have secured promotion to the National League for the first time. Emily Fitzpatrick reports.
Marlow Hockey's ladies first team have secured their place in the National League, marking a historic achievement for the club. After a season filled with hard work and determination, the team has fought their way through a competitive league undefeated. Head coach Kate Porter explains how they did it.
The main thing was the commitment from the players. They fully committed to the goal of getting to the National League in terms of their training, their pre-season and their commitment to training during the season. And matches, and we had almost full availability for the whole season, so that helped in terms of a consistent team. This season we just want to stay there, so that's a sort of relatively short-term goal, But long term, I'd love to see us at the top of the National League playing against the top sides, but that is a few years away and the club would have to completely back that because financially it would be a huge commitment.
Just to see how Marlow are coping in the National League, I followed the team to one of their away games against Cheltenham, who placed 8th in the National League last year. Here are some highlights from the game. Cheltenham had an early shot on goal, making the team look dangerous. However, shortly after, Marlow secured a goal from a P-flick, making the score 1-1 at half-time. The whistle blows and both teams are out for the next goal. The two sides had many opportunities to score with fouls taking place inside the D, which meant the game finished and the final result was a tie at 2-2. This is Amelie Fitzpatrick reporting for BrookesTV News.
And finally, over at the Cotswolds Wildlife Park, they have an exciting announcement as they celebrate a new birth of a rare endangered species.
Cotswolds Wildlife Park is an established conservation trust for over a decade. They raise money from various different sources in an effort to protect the endangered animals. I went to the park to see a glimpse of the new arrival.
The Cotswold Wildlife Centre has recently gained a new addition. With the birth of the bamboo lemur, a critically endangered species, it's finally moving in the right direction.
Back in June, we had a birth of a greater bamboo lemur to our mum Bijou, who is an experienced mum. So since 2020, we've had babies born every year. So this was a very important birth because there's only 36 of this species in captivity, and they are critically endangered out in the wild as well. So any birth of this species is incredibly special.
In zoos across Europe, lemurs are bred in carefully managed programmes such as the European Endangered Species Programme. What is the goal? To maintain a healthy, genetically diverse population in captivity and ensure these extraordinary primates don't disappear. In these programmes, breeding is a delicate science. Each pair is selected based on genetic compatibility, and while breeding rates vary, institutions see 1 to 3 births per year, typically a single infant birth. These infants are carefully monitored, weaned by 4 months, and raised in an environment designed to mimic the lemur's natural habitat. The greater bamboo lemur, in particular, is a priority species in these efforts. With fewer than 500 individuals left in the world, the programme offers a lifeline. And while these captive populations are thriving, the real challenge lies in protecting the rainforests of Madagascar, where these lemurs belong. The road ahead is tough, but every birth is a step closer to saving one of the world's most extraordinary species. We asked the public about their experience with the lemur enclosure and around the Cotswold Wildlife Park.
It's brilliant because it's so interactive, especially for kids. So I'm excited to go in there and see it myself.
We've had a really lovely day at the Cotswold Wildlife Park and Gardens, and the lemur exhibit is just like so interactive. It's amazing.
With lemur numbers sliding, the breeding programme is more important than ever. This is Aggie Waldron, BrookesTV.
That's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. You can watch all of our previous episodes on the BrookesTV YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/DrBrooks.
You can also email us on brookestv@brooks.ac.uk as we'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Goodbye.